Kidnapped, walking the scene with you in old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insights so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands tall. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
We did it! Cue the celebration music. Wait, we did our yay! After a few weeks of every single conceivable thing going wrong, we are back in the club and we are ready to now carry horror and Halloween movies solidly into November.
Christmas!
Because we refuse to not talk about these, but we promise we're going to do some silly ones as well. So we have Ernest Scared Stupid on the list. So it's not only doom and gloom and serial killers. But welcome back,
I
Nat.
think the best meme I saw this week was a picture of like current day John Cena and a picture of like 80s, 90s Ernest, and they look the same.
I saw that one.
And I'm like, let's petition John Cena to be the new Ernest Scared Stupid movies, etc.
Yeah.
I would be on for that revival. Like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna remake some movies, beloved childhood movies, John Cena playing Ernest, yes.
That'll be our palette cleanser, the in between from like dark and dismal into like holiday fun.
Well, I mean, I know it's a complete stereotype, but like, you know, serial killers and true crime are like a great palate cleanser to go to bed and shut the brain down for the evening.
Sure. Especially if you're a white woman. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe not if you're like everyone else, but hey, you know what? Here we are.
Hey, know your predators.
Know your predators.
Know your predators.
Know your predators. Well,
it's very comforting to know that I'm going to bed with the knowledge to survive.
Yes, yeah. We've covered now over the last year and a half, nearing 2 years of this show, a lot of horror movies. We've done like all of the kind of slasher 1980s, 1990s, like teen horror slasher camp running upstairs movies. But I'm really excited for tonight's episode because Silence of the Lambs, I think, and I could be wrong,
for us
was
specifically,
was like the tipping point into
the birth,
the world of kind of a somewhat intensely morbid fascination with like the serial killer. And I read a bunch of articles today and last week about this movie, and I'm not alone in thinking this because you had, if you don't know a lot of, if you're not a white woman and you don't know a lot about this world, in the 70s and 80s, you had a ton of like really horrifying, incredibly sort of, I hate to call them like iconic, but certainly like well-known serial killers, right? I mean, every single one that you can think of, if you can think of any at all, came out of that. Most of them, right? Came out of that era. And so this movie, which came out in the 90s, really was the first of its kind to show a serial killer or a killer really of any kind as intelligent, capable, like intriguing, like and to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about also like criminal profiling and like the
Which
connection
was
of the
new.
which was
It was new
new.
at the time of the movie.
Exactly. And the connection between like, the FBI and these kind of higher level, you know, departments that were really battling with these issues. And it
And
is,
also like using psychology, psychiatry to understand, like trying to understand a perpetrator instead of
yep,
focusing on just the evidence, or in a lot of these cases, lack of evidence,
yep.
finding different ways to find, new ways to catch these guys.
Yeah, but I'm getting ahead of myself because Nat hasn't yet given her diagnosis of this movie, for lack of a better word. But before you do, quick shout out to Josh and Matt who are hanging out with us in the live studio audience. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know in the comments if this is a movie you've seen, haven't seen, loved, what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear them as we break it all down. But Nat, go ahead. Your IMDb summary of Silence of the Lambs.
A female student of the FBI, smarter than most men, gets pulled up to
Mhm.
do some field
Yeah,
work
promoted.
to talk to a serial killer to catch another serial killer.
Yep.
That's basically,
Well done.
like, some people die.
Some people die.
Two cops die, which I'm like, really? Obviously. You let a monster out of a cage, what do you think was gonna happen? What did you think was gonna happen? uh Wonderful Chianti, great menus.
Yeah. Great
She
lines.
graduates with honors.
She graduates. She graduates. Wow, that's a hard word to say. Maybe too much gin tonight. I'll slow down.
Not
I'll
enough.
slow down. Not enough gin. So this movie, if you did not know, and this was actually a newer fact for me. So this movie is the only horror movie, and I use that like in quotations because
Psychological
it's
thriller.
really more of a psychological thriller, but it to date is the only
Slash
movie
romance?
in that genre that has taken an Oscar. It actually won the 5 major Oscars. So, and I'm probably going to screw this up because I don't have it in front of me, but best film, best director, actor, actress, and screenplay. There were only 3 movies of all time that have ever taken all 5 of those. So it's a pretty like
Wow.
impressively done movie. I also did not know that this is actually the second time that the character of Hannibal Lecter was on screen. Not Anthony Hopkins, obviously, in the first one, but there was a movie that came out. Oh shoot, Paul's not here to fact check me, but I believe it was in the 70s. Anyway, before the 90s, earlier than the 90s, there was another.
This is based on a book.
This is based on a book. So there was another Hannibal Lecter film that was trying to bring the book to life, and it tanked. So there is a magic in this movie, and in my personal opinion, it lies in the director,
Jodie
the
Foster?
screenwriter, Jodie Foster, who fought like a badass woman to get to
She's
be in this
badass woman,
movie,
period.
to get
Yeah.
this movie created. She like tried to like buy rights to the film. Like she was all in on this movie. And then Anthony Hopkins, obviously, who actually only was in this movie for a total of like 30 minutes, which is crazy to me. And I
It's
actually
more than enough.
it's more than enough. It's
Yeah.
more than enough.
So to shout out to Jodie Foster, my favorite scene in this whole movie
Mhm.
is, and there's a lot of scenes that are so good in this
So
movie,
good.
but
I
my
have so
favorite-
many favorites. Yeah.
so many favorites, but my actual favorite is the night vision goggles. So when she knocks
Terrifying.
on Buffalo Bill's door,
hmm
whereas the whole rest of the FBI agency is out somewhere else,
And you
to
know-
knock down the wrong person's
And
door, which
and
she's
it's
like, I
both
think
doors.
you're wrong.
It's like, but it's so
Oh, yeah.
well done because it's both doors, and like you
suspense,
know
yeah.
that Jodie is at Buffalo Bill, the serial
correct
killer's
door,
door,
yeah.
but you still are
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, maybe she's not though, but maybe she's not, but she probably.
And it's funny because
yeah,
her boss and mentor, who's in a different state, by the way,
Mhm.
when as soon as they bust down the door of who they think the bad guy is and the house is empty, he's like,
oh shit.
oh no, Clarice. Like he instantly knew. She was right the whole time, which is
Yeah.
why he put her on the job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and he knew that she was in trouble. But so my favorite scene is the night vision goggles because so Buffalo Bill cuts the lights. She's running around completely blind, but we have his perspective. He has night vision goggles on. So we see everything with that greenish hue.
Mm-hmm.
And the absolute terror and the absolute, like, her trying to get a grip on the situation, trying to keep control, but the blind panic, the
Yeah.
terror, the fear that she's feeling.
Yep.
And you see his hand like half an inch from her face,
Yeah.
brushing her hair, like, and just how she relied on her senses, the scene. So when he clicks back the, I guess the, what is it, the barrel of the revolver? No, not the barrel. Whatever gun people you tell me. When you hear the click of him like putting the gun so he could fire it.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know. Yes.
But he's cocking the gun.
There
I don't
you
know.
go. You did it.
Anyways,
Yeah.
it makes a click sound, and he's pulling that little like that little sticky thing on the back
Mhm, mhm.
down.
You're killing it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't apologize. I'm Canadian. I don't need
Today's
to know
gun
about guns.
talk will be brought
Thank
to you.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what it's like to live in
Mhm.
countries with gun control.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
But that sound, she immediately whirls around and just fires off from where she hears it, which is brilliant, which shows her training.
Yeah.
And her senses were on point. And like, thank God, she's really good at her job. But anyways, all of that to say, the suspense, the build up, everything of that scene, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Iconic.
That scene is absolutely iconic. And I love how different I love how different this entire movie is from almost any other like
Yeah.
horror movie, or really like any movie, even in like the kind of psychological suspense category leading up to
Mhm.
this film, because she's not like your stereotypical woman character in this movie. Like, she's not in like a sexy outfit. She's not a little bit dumb. She's not like, she is like highly
blonde.
capable. She's she is like dressed like you would imagine an actual FBI agent to be wearing clothes. Like, she's very believable in the role. But in this one particular moment, what I really want to call out is like every other horror movie that we've reviewed, and most of the ones that are, that predate this movie, you have like, they shoot the killer and then he comes back and then they shoot him again. And then he goes, like,
Oh no, she empties her
empties
revolver
the
into the guy.
entire gun. Like,
clip.
she's like again and again and again and again. But because of that, like, it's almost this like
She makes
release.
sure.
It's the release of tension that she's feeling, but it also gives like a release of tension to the audience, because you're right. Like, that entire scene is so stressful. Like, you're like, oh my goodness. Like, even rewatching it, I know what happens, but there was still the tension. It's like just
And
a lot.
I mean, let's be honest. I would have made sure he was
Oh
dead.
yeah, I would have emptied the entire gun.
I would not have been like, shot him once, he went down. Cool. Go save the victim,
Yeah.
Like, I would have been like, headshot. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
through the heart, every major organ has a bullet in it. Good, we're good to go. Now I will go and save the victim.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness
Like,
for a live studio audience,
yeah.
because Matt is letting us know that it's called pulling the hammer back. Nat, now you
Oh,
know
thank
for
you.
next time you pull the hammer back. Julie's hanging
To
out
be
with
fair,
us and says the scene made her jump onto her feet in the seat. Yeah, So I was reading a review of the movie, I think it was last week, and there was a now adult reviewer that like has this visceral memory of his mother going to see this movie for like the first time in the theater and coming back and like describing this one particular scene that you just talked through like in detail to her husband, and the like kid who is now a movie reviewer just like listening and thinking like how important that movie moment was in film, and like how like intense that feeling was for his mother. And so it was just like absolutely that's a good scene. That's probably
it
the
holds up.
the only one that I like rivals it for me. Oh, there's so many good ones.
I'm like,
I love and this is longer than like a scene, but I love
Yeah.
the tension of Hannibal getting out of his prison slash hospital setting environment, and he's in that like glass box in the middle of what looks like a high school gym. So I have like questions about like the safety and security about that, but
I thought it was like it looked
or a
like
museum. Maybe it's it
I
like
think it was City Hall.
city.
Like
Oh,
it
is
was
it?
like
It looked like a gym.
yeah, I think it
Okay,
was
like
like
wood
City Hall,
floor.
and they just cleared everything out of the like that conference room space or whatever it would have been.
Yeah.
It looked like to me some like federal building or I don't whatever.
Okay. All right. So you're
Senate
better. So I
building.
was
I don't
like,
know. I don't
couldn't
know.
figure out what it was, but
It
it felt
looked
like
like
a bad
City Hall.
idea.
Yeah, no, it was.
Felt like a bad idea, but
And it had bars. Like it wasn't even a glass box. It was
it
like
wasn't.
it just had bars. Because the
Oh,
cop got cuffed to the bars. Like
he did.
it was a really stupid idea.
Yeah, it was a really stupid idea,
To give
and
him
like,
furniture? What? What?
but the
Oh
tension
my
around
God.
like that entire. It's not the same level of tension as a scene
Yeah.
that you just mentioned, but this moment of like, it's clearly a bad idea, but the level of desperation to find this missing woman is intense, mostly because of the position of her mother
Privilege.
and like and the level of privilege. But then there's this like weird level of privilege that Hannibal gets because he's like so smart
Well,
and
yeah.
capable, and as a result of this cat and mouse game,
Which was so dumb.
which is
Like,
so
yes,
dumb.
they caught the guy. They caught
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And granted, as terrible as it is to say, the way that a lot of these people who don't leave a lot of serial killers, from what I've read, the way they
From
get
copious
caught
study.
is
Yeah.
the more bodies they drop, the more likely they're going to screw up. So the police, the FBI would have caught Buffalo Bill at some point.
Yep.
But this victim would have likely died. She did survive because they used Hannibal.
Yeah.
But he escaped because they used Hannibal.
Yeah.
Hannibal escaped. Buffalo Bill dead. Thank you.
I know,
Clarice.
which like feels worse.
I'm like, but you knew the second they let him out. You
Feels
knew the
worse
second
to let
they let
him
Hannibal out.
Like it just doesn't.
Okay, so let's talk about Hannibal. Now,
Yeah.
Katie and I love the curiosity, the psychology behind other humans.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were fascinated, obviously, since the early 90s when this movie came out.
Basically,
about
since this movie,
serial
it's this
killers.
movie's fault.
Yeah,
This is
basically since this movie.
Yeah.
So looking at the psychology, now I've read the books and
Mhm.
I've seen the movie, and it's hard in my brain to always separate the
Yeah,
two.
same. Apologies, because we are definitely living in a world where they're all blurred.
Yeah.
And all of the
Yeah,
like
yeah.
movies and TV shows since as well are all blurred together. So like I feel like I have the
Yes.
whole thing in one shot. Yeah, go ahead.
So Hannibal is a pure sociopath.
Yep.
Okay, so sociopath by definition, just on Google, not like an actual proper definition, but is an extreme antisocial, a person that displays extreme antisocial attitudes,
Mhm.
behaviors, and has a lack of a conscience. Basically, they don't understand or they don't feel the same emotions as what a typical, like a neurotypical person would feel.
Yep.
Or that's not to say neurodivergents don't feel. I apologize. I'm neurodivergent.
I think you just called all
basically
neurodivergents serial killers. I'm really offended.
like, I'm a serial killer? No, I'm not. No, so basically it's saying he doesn't experience normal like things like empathy and sympathy and
remorse.
doesn't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
emotions the same. Though Hannibal, as we see in the film, does express remorse and sympathy and empathy. Now, the thing is, so a lot of people are like, and they say it in the movie flat out, and they say it in the book, he does not have a diagnosis onto himself because there is no diagnosis that exists for Hannibal,
For him,
because he seems to be empathetic, which should be impossible for a sociopath.
Mm.
However, sociopaths are extremely intelligent, usually,
Mhm.
and Hannibal is displayed as a genius.
Mhm.
So I feel like, and he's a psychiatrist, by the way, he was a practicing top of his league psychiatrist. I feel like with the skill set he would have learned from his education and from his medical practice,
Mhm.
because psychiatry is a medical practice. Like he's
Mhm.
an MD. He would have known how to express that to manipulate people. So we don't
Yeah, he'd be able
actually
to fake it.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So I do think he's a pure sociopath. I just think he's much more clever than what the standard definition allows to. Now, a lot of people believe that he's not just a sociopath or he's not purely a sociopath, but
Hmm.
and interestingly enough, he suffers PTSD, okay, because from a childhood trauma where he witnessed his family getting murdered and the cannibalization of his baby sister.
Mhm.
And the only thing missing, especially at the time, for him to be in the trifecta, okay, so it's like he has a childhood trauma. He's mimicking the trauma that he's seen by becoming a killer and a cannibal. It's like, did he have a head trauma that they just didn't mention in the movie? Because that would have made him like, like, did he wet the bed and does
I
he
mean,
have a traumatic brain
the
injury?
the crazy thing about this particular movie is that again, he's only on camera for 30 minutes of the entire movie.
But
And
we're still talking about the
and
psychological
he's
profile of
not
the guy.
and
It's
he's
fictional.
also not you do not get hardly any information about him. So like everything that you just said comes through from books
The
or
book.
the I can see the scene from the there is a TV series about him as well where they show the scene with his
Hannibal, yeah.
sister. So like but in this particular movie in this context like you learn very little about him. You know that he was a
Yeah.
psychiatrist. You can see that he's brilliant just by the conversation that they're having back and forth. Obviously he's highly dangerous as well because he's in this prison where he clearly is not allowed hardly anything at all, and it's under lock and key, and he's playing psychological games with literally everyone in his sphere, right? So he's playing with like
Everybody.
the doctor that is running the psychiatric clinic that he's in,
Buffoon.
and yeah, who's a buffoon. He's playing it with Clarice. He's playing with Clarice's
The other
boss. He's playing
patients,
with the other
the other
patients.
inmates.
Like he is it's so I mean again, like huge shout out to the writer of the book, to the screenwriter, to the director, and to just and
Anthony
obviously Anthony Hopkins, who
Hopkins.
took on this role. No one wanted these roles, by the way. Like the list of actors who were up for these
Yeah.
roles, and it's not like other
Nobody
movies.
could have done this though, other
It's
than Anthony Hopkins. And
and Jodie
please, can
Foster.
you
Yeah.
tell us,
Yeah.
can you tell our audience what you told me about Anthony Hopkins and his personal relationship?
So Anthony Hopkins, this is my favorite fact of this movie because I like, and I hope
Yeah.
it's not a lie because I've seen it in multiple places on the internet, so I'm hoping it's true. But Anthony Hopkins was at the time that he created was in this movie was dating Martha Stewart, which in itself is iconic, and I just can't even process that properly.
They would have been
But
a beautiful
they would
couple.
have been a beautiful couple. But I
Yeah.
guess Martha Stewart broke up with him after the movie because she literally like only could see Hannibal Lecter every time she talked to him, which I 100% believe. Like I'm like, yep, that would be me.
Like
I
he
like,
must have gone
yeah,
to a certain place
yeah,
in your mind. And this is what blows my mind away with actors at this skill set.
yeah,
Like you have to go somewhere in your head.
yeah.
And like how do you can't just walk it off. It's not like, you go to work, you're starting your shift, whatever crap you have going on at
Shake
home,
it
you just
off.
leave it
Yeah,
at the front door,
yeah,
right? And then whatever shit you accumulate from work, by the time you get home and after the rage of traffic, you just shake it off. It's like, you have your little rituals to unwind, but I'm like, how do you unwind after doing like
this
however
role.
long it
Yeah,
took to film this, like a
yeah,
month, 3 months, whatever it was,
yeah.
to film it? Like, how do you just shake off being one of the darkest, most disturbing characters in
Yeah.
cinematic history?
Well, the crazy part to me is, and I know that like every single movie that we review, there's like a list of actors that we're like surprised at, like that, what a different movie would have been if it was a different actor. And there were a
Yeah.
lot of like, incredible actors that were up for all of these roles. But the one that gets me the most, well, two things. First thing, every single actor that was up for either the role of Hannibal Lecter or Clarice turned it down because this movie was either like too horrific, too gross, gruesome. They did not think it would sell. They did not think people would go see it. It was like way too scary. Absolutely not. Like literally everyone. But among the people that said no for those reasons was Daniel Day-Lewis, who is like renowned for being a character actor who like
Is
literally
dark.
like is capable of playing very dark, but also like embodies the characters. Like he is no longer Daniel Day-Lewis when he is in the mindset of those characters. He just lives in that
Like
mind.
method. Yeah.
He's a total method actor, which I think probably was the right move for him, because let's be real, he would have like been in a really
He's
dark,
played darker
horrible
characters
place.
than this.
But I was like,
Personally, I
whoa.
feel like Hannibal has some redeeming qualities
He
over
does
other
have redeeming, yeah.
characters. That,
I don't know what that says about
Daniel
us,
Day-Lewis
Nat, that
played.
we're like Hannibal, kind of a nice guy.
He's-
Feels probably
Well,
makes good
the thing
money.
with him-
Like, just-
The thing with him is he's very charming. So
yeah.
in the world of Silence of the Lambs of Hannibal Lecter, so
Yep.
not the movie, but in the books, because there's
Yep.
several books.
Yep.
Just to shock the audience, guys, him and Clarice end up together. They're a couple.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
wiped that from my
he
mind.
basically manipulates her.
Yep.
Talk about gaslighting and a
Mhm.
toxic red flag. He manipulates her from the moment he meets her into to basically tricking her into thinking she might also be like him.
Mhm.
She's smart enough, she has an equivalent mind, intellect.
Mhm.
And he basically gaslights her into thinking she might also potentially be a serial killer.
Mhm.
And because on the line of duty, she kills people sometimes, it makes her question it. So then they form a romantic attachment. Anyways, it ends badly. But,
Unsurprisingly, yeah.
but just to show how different he is compared to a lot of serial killers, like the amount of control he has.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that breakdown moment where a lot of serial killers, especially of the time period you mentioned, like the 70s and the 80s
Yeah.
and the early 90s, they get to a point where they want to get caught, so they start screwing up a bit.
Yeah.
Whether it's consciously or subconsciously.
Mhm.
He doesn't. Not Hannibal.
Yeah. He's based
Yeah.
on like a number of different serial killers, among which are Ed Gein and Ted Bundy. So again, they're like recognizable
Oh, yeah.
names.
Good
Obviously he's
looking, charming, can maintain
Yeah.
an everyday life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant in this, and it's no surprise that like this movie did as well. There's something, again, like it's funny. I actually have a hard time watching some of the scenes in this movie. Like the scenes where Hannibal is there and it's the conversation and it's the like cat and mouse game. I'm like enamored and like closely watching, and my mind is on overdrive thinking through
My
all of it.
skin crawls.
But the scenes like with Buffalo Bill and the scenes where you know,
The
Clarice is
lotion?
looking at the lotion, that Clarice
When
is
he
looking at the dead
says-
bodies, like all of
Oh
those
my
scenes.
God.
I'm like, I have such a hard time. There is that iconic too scene. Speaking of Ted Bundy, there's the scene where Buffalo Bill kidnaps the woman who eventually is saved at the end of the movie, but he's got like, you know, he's struggling to get like a sofa into his van, and like that scene is
Is Ted Bundy.
very creepy, because it is exactly what Ted Bundy used to do. Like he would put on a cast and he was just like charming, and like, and people would, you know, feel bad and help him, and it's so
good-looking,
believable.
nice timbre of his voice.
Yep.
Buffalo
Bill is not
just seems so
overly
sweet.
charming or good looking in his character. No offense to that actor, but the idea of like,
he's not. I mean, if you think about it from like
From
a
the era, I
single
guess,
female
yeah.
perspective, he still has hair on his head. He's
True.
very fit, as we later see. He's got a nice deep
Knows
voice,
how to
and
sew.
he seems very kind.
Good dancer. Yeah. Good man. That's great.
Like, it's not the worst dating profile I've seen. Okay, can we talk about the scene where Buffalo Bill is putting on the lipstick and he's dancing, and he essentially, he's like, am I gonna get canceled on YouTube for saying this? He's like, I'd fuck myself.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan fuck. Anyways, but like that whole scene, besides the fact that it's been spoofed in everything, including like Jay and Silent Bob,
Yep.
which good job, Jay. Like you also look very fit, though less serial killer
Billy
vibes
Crystal
from Jay.
spoofed it. Like, yeah, everyone has spoofed that scene.
Everybody.
It's
I've sent to Katie a TikTok that doesn't exist. Okay, I don't even have the video file anymore. Where I had a face mask on, and I was like, "Oh, I feel like Buffalo Bill." So I made a video with the music. What's the band called? Oh my god, I feel so
can't
bad for them
remember.
that's their one thing.
I can't remember what
So
the
I'm
band's
putting on
called.
lip balm with this like sheet face mask on, and I was like, "This is so creepy." And Katie's like, "You're disturbed. This is why we're friends." It's Q Lazarus, "Goodbye Horses" is
There
the
you
song.
go. There you go.
What a great song.
Pour one out
Imagine
for
this
that
is
band.
that's the one thing
That's
you're
your
known
one
for.
song. And it is
I mean,
like
they're still making money off of it. They must be because the song is constantly used in reference to the film.
yeah. And I want to
God,
say
let them
like
still get royalties.
it is a little bit Buffalo Bill's. Let's talk for a second about Buffalo Bill's character because rewatching this movie now. So at the time that I originally watched it, which I don't remember exactly how old I was when I
We
saw
were
it.
too young, but
We
yeah,
were too young,
saw it
but fair.
way
And
too
I've seen
young.
it a ton of times since, and then I read
11.
the books. But it's been a while since I've rewatched it, and so last week I popped it in and watched it through for the episode. I struggled a little bit with Buffalo Bill's character watching it now in 2024 because I have a number of friends and family who are trans, and I just like the decisions made there and the representation are a little bit hard. And I know, like, I was reading articles today about people
Is
who are
he
just
so
he's
trans?
not.
He's
So-
not. He's not. He's straight.
He's not.
They specifically say that he's
They
straight.
specifically say it, but then they do talk around it a whole lot, and the way that he portrays the character
Yeah.
and even that dance scene, which are not like mentioned at all in the book, or like that's all just like directorial license and things
Which,
that the
like,
actor
props
did.
to the actor who did that.
Which
Like,
props to the
he
actor
went
that did it.
all
But
in.
it
Yeah.
like but leading up to this movie and even a little bit after
Mm-hmm.
this movie, I think the trans community, from what I was reading, had a really hard time because there was this already a stigma, and then there was
A
this like
fear.
then there was this intense
Oh.
fear and kind of stigma around like, you know,
Oh God! And
around
coming,
trans
yeah,
being
coming
like
out of the 80s,
yeah, and
90s
around it being like
pandemic. Yeah.
about something that is like, you know, like you're disturbed if this is who you are,
Yeah.
and you're like, and
Oh,
you're
that's so
crazy, and you're,
stupid.
and so it was like it, and it's funny, like
No, but I feel bad that that stigma exists because
Yeah.
they specify in the movie the guy's a white male who is straight.
Yeah, and
just
he's
fucked
like
up in the head.
he's just
They
crazy.
specify that
but
it's a straight man.
Yeah.
It's a straight man who's this crazy.
but no one see like,
not a trans person.
but people don't.
I didn't. Oh my God. I
It's
didn't
funny,
even-
like I didn't really. It just for whatever reason in this particular watching of it, I just had a moment where I was like, ugh, and I couldn't even really like
Mm.
think through what was making me feel that way. And then I read this entire article, which I believe I put into
Yeah.
the description in the show notes if you want to check it out later. But it was really well written, where they were just really talking about like the movie did its best to separate the two. And I believe I can't, again, it's all blended together in my mind, but I believe the book does have that storyline, but the way it's represented in the
They
movie
do also use
just opens up
old
the door a little bit.
terminology.
Yeah. Mhm.
They
Yeah.
they use
They use
historical
90s.
terminology
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
that is not
Yeah.
kosher
Yeah.
nowadays.
It's
and
probably
it's true,
less
in
of
the
a
movie
problem
when they
now, but I felt it more now watching back, and I
Yeah.
just I don't know. It was interesting
God, that's horrific, and I
because he
apologize
is the
for my not seeing that right away. Though I did cringe pretty hard when they said like he's a transvestite. It's like A, no.
yeah.
And B, we don't use that word anymore. And like, oh wait, 1991 or 92. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay. I'm
He's
like, I
also,
understand
like-
the historical context and idiocy of the past.
Yeah.
But
He's also
but I
like
hate
such
that
a
that happened.
creepy, horrific character, and like what they're trying
Yeah.
to do with him. And again, I agree with you. Like I think the actor did a phenomenal job. He definitely, and the
Yeah.
writing and like he comes across as terrifying and creepy.
I
and
just thought like
the
straight
reason
men are
they
creepy.
the reason that they
Like,
catch him
straight
is
men are the
because he's
problem.
like so damaged and like broken
Yeah.
that he's trying to be someone he's not. This is why he's like sewing this skin suit, and but they wrap all of that up around his like mistaken gender identity, basically. Like and so like that part of it I think is a little bit tough, but I
they try to tie it to a gender identity
Yeah.
when for Buffalo Bill's psychology, it's not that he thinks he's in the wrong gender.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
it
I
has
wanted
nothing
to
to do with his gender. Yeah, no,
I
good.
just wanted
Thank
to I
you for
just
bringing
wanted to
that up.
mention it because it is interesting that exists alongside a
Yeah.
movie that is so like renowned for doing an
Oh, that makes me
absolutely
upset.
phenomenal job in creating a strong female lead character that even the FBI uses in like training videos these days. Like, so you
Well,
have like who literally gave
it's
us
clear that wasn't the
like
intent,
like X
but
Files, like so many of like the like iconic female
I'd even
leads
say
that we see
Buffy.
now. Yeah,
Like
Buffy probably even like come
Criminal
from
Minds. Like, yeah,
come
every
from Jodie
Criminal Minds,
Foster's portrayal of that
CSI,
character.
all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So it is anyway. It's not. It's a small part of the movie, but I wanted to be able to call it out, and I also wanted to say
But that's
alongside it
big.
that it is definitely like on the other side of it. You have this like absolutely incredible portrayal of a woman who is not scantily clad, highly capable, rises to the occasion amidst
Smarter than
tons of
everybody else.
misogyny. Like there are so many
Yeah.
characters in this movie that are there to see her fail. Like every single police officer thinks she's incapable. Every single like Hannibal's like literally the only one that believes in her. Hannibal and her
Her and her
boss
boss
are the only
are
two
the
that
two,
believe in her.
which her boss, they
Yeah.
do imply that her boss, who is somebody who's at least 20 years her senior, has an inappropriate
Yeah. He's like they
interest
both
in
have an
her.
interest in her in an inappropriate way.
Yeah,
Hannibal and her boss both
yes.
are
Both
interested.
her and her boss,
Yeah.
same age group, about 20 years older than her, have
Yeah.
an inappropriate interest in this young girl. And technically, I mean, and from the book point of view, where Hannibal ends up in a relationship with
Yeah.
Clarice, they both Hannibal and her boss have the same inappropriate intentions towards Clarice.
Yeah.
But they also support her intelligence.
But she pulls it off like against
She
literally
does.
everything going like is
All odds.
opposed to her, right? Against all odds. Like
Mhm.
she's just a student. So she's got an intense amount of workload. She rises to the occasion. She's in like literally the most like dangerous possible situations. Even when she's told to like to just give it up and not pursue it anymore, she still follows through, but she still plays by the rules. She's not like
Yeah.
she's not, disrespectful or derogatory towards anyone, and she wins at the end, which is like
And the amount of
ab-
times that men trying to make her feel professionals like
Yeah.
police
Yeah.
and other FBI try to make her feel small because she's pretty,
yeah.
and how she puts them down for it.
Yeah.
Like I love that's one of the things that really, I think it made our generation be like, you never need to let somebody tell you what you're supposed to think and supposed to feel
Yeah.
because of how they perceive you. And that was really empowering for, I
Yeah.
think, many people, for whole, like many generations, for whoever sees this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
again, like Jodie Foster went above and beyond. And
Yeah.
apparently, and I didn't get a chance to read through like the entire story, so I will try to find more information about it that I can add into the show notes. But apparently, Jodie Foster in real life had an altercation with a fan. It's like something happened in like the making of this movie, and the
Yeah,
police
she was already
and the
famous before this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the police and the FBI ended up having to like step in and help in some way. And she was so impressed with like how the support that she got from whatever people that were helping her, that it was like very important to her to be as accurate and authentic as she could to the FBI in this role. And it really paid off because again, like up until this time, like there was certainly like a stigma around like how police and FBI were portrayed in movies. That I don't think any of it was overly correct in how that. So this is like again like a really kind of remains a groundbreaking film at a number of different levels.
Yeah.
Like and is widely respected by the entire FBI, which is really cool. Like all things considered, like because you watch it and you're like, it's neat to see like what some of these organizations are capable of. Like I think a lot of the times, you get kind of like a misrepresentation that either makes them look bad or like makes it just so unrealistic that you're like, okay, whatever, that's not actually what these people are doing. So it's neat to see.
Yeah. So back to Buffalo Bill and Hannibal.
Yeah.
So Buffalo Bill, or what's his name? What was his name?
Jame Gum.
Jame
It's like James,
Gum.
but without the S, which really annoys
Like,
me. Like, I just want to call him
so Jame
James or
Gum,
Jamie, but it's not. It's Jame.
which she does refer to him as James or Jamie at some point when she's looking for Mrs.
Yeah.
What is it, Libman's son?
Because she's a little Southern. So
Yeah.
she's adding it up.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
so what I feel is the reason we had such a lesser perspective of Buffalo Bill was to create this juxtaposition between him and Hannibal.
Yeah.
To just show how much more evolved Hannibal was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, James was he's apparently been operating, and so as a patient of Hannibal's, Hannibal knew that he was into sort of this potential risk group for it. It implies many years, like 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Which also is fascinating that
Like, what are
Hannibal's
the
like,
odds?
I remember this patient I saw once over 20 years ago. Of course I remember him by name and where he lives.
This
And
was
where
my
his
biggest beef
kill
with the
kit
movie.
is and his murder. Like,
This was
no, but I mean,
literally my
Hannibal is
biggest beef.
supposed to be.
I know, but
Hannibal's
like,
supposed to be that intelligent, but
I
I mean,
know.
he might have a didactic memory or a photographic memory
but
or whatever it's
they're
called
literally
nowadays.
yelling at it. There's like whole moments, multiple moments in this film where like Hannibal is standing
Yeah.
there and they're like, "Give us the address of the man that's killing these people." And I'm like, okay, like this man
This is a
has been
patient
in
from over 20 years ago.
This man
He
has
saw
been
him
like
once
in
for a
prison.
consult.
Yeah. And it was like, and how would he possibly know where this, like, okay, maybe he knows what this guy's name was back when he knew him, but he would not know where
Yeah.
this man is living now. Like this
No.
was years and years and years ago. You like the
Yeah.
serial killer is like still in the same house. Feels really unlikely to me.
Which
Yeah.
he wasn't.
Which he wasn't. But yeah, they're like yelling
Yeah.
at him like multiple times. They're like, Hannibal,
Yeah.
you need to tell us where this guy lives. I'm like, no.
Stupidity.
But no.
I mean, Clarice is like, well, that's a dumb question.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's the wrong question. You're asking the wrong question.
So I do feel like they did use Buffalo Bill to be as a more devolved serial killer to show that Hannibal was so much more evolved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't minimize that Buffalo Bill didn't get caught for over 20 years. You know, and that they only found, what was it, like 4 bodies? But they have no idea if they found, or they did find the first victim. But they don't know that they found everybody.
They don't
So
know.
it
Yeah,
was
they don't.
really, like, you can't, and in the movie, for the movie purposes, they minimize it, but like the character himself was clearly so much more evolved than the movie gave him credit for, which is terrifying.
That's what's kind of crazy about this
It
movie.
made him so scary because he seemed so unhinged when you're like, but he's not, because he got away with it until Hannibal ratted him out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he
I
would
mean,
have got away with it.
It's not, I guess, all that dissimilar from like some of the other more traditional like slasher flicks that we've watched where you don't actually get all that much information on the killer. You're just supposed to sort of take it at face value. You get like just enough to be curious enough that you feel like you understand what his backstory is, but like you don't, in the same way that you don't actually see all that much of Hannibal in this film, you don't actually know all that much about Buffalo Bill. Like you don't you get like little clippets here and there as like Clarice is figuring out more information about him, but very little. Like you have no idea, like, as you said, like how many people he's actually killed, how long he's really been killing for. Like, and the crazy thing is that you don't need to in order to make a great film. Like it is pretty nuts to
No.
think that you can, like, you just need like just enough of a hook to be like, oh yeah, he's a killer, and like we have enough information for him to be scary, and that's all you need. Like, and the same with Hannibal. Like you don't find out like any of Hannibal's backstory.
Oh yeah, we
until
don't know
you,
how
like,
many
read
people
the
he's
books
murdered.
and you don't. I mean, you also like in this particular one movie and in this first book, you don't first book, not counting prequels, you don't find out like all that much about his character at all. Like you that builds over multiple books, multiple movies, multiple TV series until you kind of get a bigger picture. But yet he still manages to be that memorable that the lines stick in your mind. Like you can like see him in that like mask. You can
You know
see
what
him like,
line,
like in all
the
of it. Like
one
it's
line
crazy.
that sticks with me, like I rewatched this last week, and as soon as you said like how the lines,
Yeah.
the one that sticks with me is when the smarmy I
The
guess jail
doctor, the doctor.
psychiatry
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah.
Like, so the doctor, when he's like, oh, the FBI, like Clarice lied and didn't actually have a deal set up for Hannibal to get out. So she presents Hannibal like, if you tell me this information, this is what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Now that deal wasn't actually set up. So once this smarmy guy realizes it, he's like, well, I'm gonna get rich and
Yeah.
famous
She lied to you and I'm going to
and
give you
like
a
get a
real
book
deal.
deal out of
Yeah.
it. He's like, I'll call the senator directly whose daughter has been kidnapped and find like and broker the deal myself, which is
Mhm.
where everything starts to go very south. Because if he didn't do that, maybe Hannibal wouldn't have escaped.
Mhm.
But that aside, uh the governor or senator, sorry, I can't remember if it's a governor or a
Well,
senator that
politician.
anyways,
Yeah.
the politicians whose daughter's been kidnapped by Buffalo Bill meets Hannibal to directly ask herself, to ask him,
Yeah.
where is my
Where
daughter?
Jane
Who?
Gum lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The
Hmm.
ridiculous question
Hmm.
that he should know from
Sure.
20
From
years ago
memory.
from patient he saw once for an hour.
Hmm.
Uh, and he has his iconic mask on. He's strapped to like
A
a
board.
dolly,
Yeah.
you know, like and all you see is his eyes, and it's the delivery of the line. And he says whatever he says to her, but then as she turns away, he says, I like your suit. I don't know why that hit me as just the creepiest fucking thing he could have said.
Yeah.
Like, he says something along the lines of like, when you find your daughter dead, where are you gonna feel it?
Yeah.
Something crazy
Yeah.
like that, which should have been creepier. But then when he's like,
No.
just
Yeah.
casually, he's like, I like your suit. I'm like, why?
No, I like your suit is definitely
Why?
creepy.
Oh, that got me.
Yeah, he's got some really great lines. Like yeah, he's such an enigma because on one hand, he's like, and none of it's real, obviously, because he's crazy. But like on one hand, he's like protective and like and highly interested in everything that Clarice has to say, and like he doesn't
He
want
wants her to
the
succeed.
he wants her to succeed. He doesn't want her to like talk to or encounter the other criminals that are around her. Like he's
He
bothered
doesn't
by
want her
like,
boss to take
yeah,
advantage of her and that tarnish her career.
yeah, and he's like
Like he's
impressed
like,
with
I want to help
her.
you succeed. Oh yeah.
But then on the other hand, like he then openly insults her a number of times. Like, he says like horrifically terrible things directly to her. Like, so
Well, he's testing her
he's
though.
testing her. But yeah, it is
Yeah.
interesting kind of the back and
It
forth and how
does very
quickly.
much seem
Yeah.
like he's like, even before he saw her, he was like, I'm going to take care of her. I'm going to nurture her. I'm going to make sure she benefits the most out of this situation. I
Yeah.
think it comes also out of the cockiness that he knew that as soon as this situation was presented,
Yeah.
that he was getting out. Which
Yeah.
another great line is, so Buffalo Bill is dead. She gets like, the victim is saved. She's at her graduation finally because she's
Mhm.
still in the academy, by the
Yeah.
way, guys.
Yeah.
So it's graduation day and they give her her official badge, and he calls her. He
Yeah.
calls her up on the phone, payphones back then.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't plan to call you, but I know it's your graduation, and basically it's like, congrats, did good, kiddo. And and then she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm having an old friend
Friend
for
for
dinner.
dinner.
And you
Yeah.
see the bumbling buffoon of a psychologist that was running the prison is getting off a plane in some tropical location, and Hannibal has his like Ray-Bans on, and it's like, I'm having a friend for dinner. Okay, like I immediately could have used that sequel, which we didn't
Yeah.
get.
Which we didn't
Like
get.
Hannibal in the Caribbean having a friend for dinner.
I know you're somewhat
Jeez.
like, I feign to say excited, but like on the verge of excited. Like you're like, well, that
This
dude
is
needs
one
to
of the
die.
movies
Yeah.
this is one of the movies where you almost are
You're
rooting
rooting for the
for the
bad
bad
guy.
because he's
Yeah.
a bit of an anti-hero
He is an
in the
anti-hero. Yeah.
sense that, I mean, he's not. He is the villain, but he helps Clarice succeed and he wants her to succeed and the audience wants her to succeed. So you're almost on the same side for a while.
Hmm.
Um, it's crazy. It's such, anyways, it's great filmmaking
It's great
because it puts you in
filmmaking.
that really weird psychological place of like, oh God, what did I just think or feel or watch?
It is absolutely great filmmaking. Well, I before we wrap and go over to our potato rating, I do want to say, and I dropped this in the scrolling ticker, which I think Josh noticed, but just in case anyone else didn't, the line that we all think is in this movie, the "Hello, Clarice," is actually "Good evening, Clarice," which I think is absolutely
Yes.
amazing that like we all have a line in our head that isn't actually in the movie. Like it this movie is so like again like you have these visceral moments trapped in your
Yeah.
mind of what this actor what this
This
character is,
movie,
what this
Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, I believe, has a line that we all think that was said, but if you rewatch it, it's not the same. Casablanca.
yeah.
But yeah, it's these are the three that stick out in my mind where there's this all like we all think it's
Hello,
the what is it,
Clarice
the
is a better
Mandela effect?
line. I think it's yeah, it's the Mandela effect. I think it's a better line. So we just all rewrote
Yeah.
it and that's fine. That's
Yeah, 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 yeah. But
well,
he does do the little like slurpy bit with his Chianti.
he does. He does.
Chianti?
County? Yeah. I know. I feel
Chianti?
bad.
Oh,
I didn't
I
have red
added an
wine.
extra
I'm
accent on a
pretending
syllable.
tonight.
I do.
Oh, way to go, Nat. Good. Someone pulled it off. I was like, oh shoot. I only have white wine or a cocktail. So I went with a cocktail. It's pinky, so I feel like it's close.
Raspberries, blood colored, love it.
Well, we will allow our live studio audience to get in their ratings for this movie for a few minutes while we continue our banter. But I just want to double check I've not missed any questions. Yeah, Doc is agreeing. Mandela effect. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yep.
moments like that throughout movies. This this one was not hard for me to rate, and I rated without Natalie's input. I was
Oh yeah,
like,
because she knows my input.
Mhm.
It's one of those things that we just don't need to ask each other. It's like we know the answer.
Oh, there, and Josh is reminding, in case you are not a Star Wars fan, in The Empire Strikes Back, the line
Mhm.
it was, "No, I am your father," but everyone thinks it's Luke, "I am your father," which again is a better line. It's a better line.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a bunch of dialogue between like it's not quite as like I am your father as you think it is.
Hmm.
but but yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
True
Love it.
story.
Anyways.
Well, tonight we can rate these in fava beans because there is a fava beans
Ooh.
emoji. So how many fava beans or glasses of Chianti or yeah, or oh, what are these?
Moths.
Moths. Yeah, we didn't really talk about much about the moths. That part was
Yes.
kind of
Uh,
creepy. It's on the
oh
cover
gosh, yeah.
here.
Oh, I
Here.
love
Here.
it. I love so Buffalo Bill puts these like moths down the victim's throats. It's kind
Hmm.
of like a signature.
That part got to
We
me the
didn't talk about
most. I had to close my eyes for that part. I don't know
to
why.
me.
Like
So rewatching that scene, so Clarice realizes there's something in like during the autopsy of the victim that they found. She notices there's something in the throat, so they take it out and she realizes moth, and then she goes to the bug guys, and then immediately I'm thinking of CSI and Grissom, and is like, I'm like, I love how this movie spawned
yeah, all
all of
those
this
shows.
stuff.
Yeah, criminal
And I'm
any kind of like
oh,
show or movie that
Criminal
had
Minds
like
is still on, thank God.
profiling. Mindhunter is another
Yeah.
one that comes to mind. Like was a fantastic
Oh,
show that
loved Mindhunters.
yeah, because
What's
again
his
like
name was so hot in that.
this is based entirely on like the rise of like again like you had this like flood of psychotic serial killers who were
Yeah.
then caught. So like the
That weren't being
90s was this
caught.
like weird moment of like just like what just happened to us in those 2 decades, and also the science catching up with the
Yeah.
crime. So you had like the kind of the rise of like shoot, his name just slipped out of my head. John Douglas, who was the famous profiler who like basically birthed the
The American FBI guy?
yeah, the criminal profiling. This is what happens when Paul's not in the studio audience with us.
You know, I did a whole criminology
Yeah, we're gonna
course.
look it
I
up.
do know
We're gonna
this.
look it up. I know, same, and I still um
Hang on. Founding American because there are other Europeans. So I did a
John E.
whole
Douglas. Oh, I think I was close. Did
okay,
I say
yes.
John Douglas? All right, John E.
Yeah,
Douglas.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he
There's a
was
bunch of
the
Europeans
FBI
too, but
agent who basically helped to, I don't know, birth the idea of
for the FBI.
criminal profiling for the FBI. Um
Yeah,
which is, yeah, interesting.
super cool.
All right, well, lots
Yeah,
of
and
five.
I
We have
have to
five,
say,
five,
all of
five.
the we Katie and I love all these like procedural
Mm-hmm. I love a
like
procedural.
serial killer hunter shows. We love this stuff. Criminal Minds has a special place in our hearts because it's been on forever. And it almost got canceled during lockdown of this pandemic, but it's back and
It's
it's so good.
back. Well, Josh is hanging out with us, even though he is not a fan of spooky month movies and episodes.
Oh,
So we're sorry, Josh, and thanks for still hanging out with us. Are you going to
I
watch
feel
Ernest
watching.
Scared Stupid with us? Because that one actually, I will say, does still scare me, but I'm going to force myself
I
through.
haven't seen it probably since we were both kids
Mm,
in your
it's
basement.
it's still scary as an
Was
adult.
it?
Not going to lie.
So Katie in her basement when she lived across the street from me. So we grew up across the street from each other. In her basement there was like a cupboard
Hmm.
in
Like
the
a
basement.
yeah,
And it had two doors, but it was like one open cupboard.
yeah. They both led to
And
the
there
same
was
like.
things in it like sleeping bags and like comforters and afghans and like a bunch of like spare stuff like that
Yeah,
you keep in your basement.
I wish I
And
had like in my house now.
yeah, it was actually a pretty epic
It's
cover.
pretty
I mean,
epic.
even as because I'm thinking as a kid, I think we were watching something like Ernest Scared Stupid, and I don't know if it was we were watching it with your brother and maybe my brother, and one of us hid in the cupboard to scare the others, and it was absolutely terrifying. And I'm super happy nobody like actually peed their pants, but it was that kind of scary.
this is this is the joy of the scary movie season. So I hope that this
Yeah.
season, albeit we are now late to the game, but we're gonna ride out a little bit longer here. I hope that
Fine.
you watch I hope that you watch even like a kind of spooky movie with other people, because the fun of it is in getting to like experience something together, the shared experience, the scaring of each
Yeah.
other, the
You
silliness, the
burn
laughter, the
calories.
yeah.
You release tension, release endorphins. You know, it's good. It's
Yeah.
healthy.
It's healthy. It's not, but
Better than it totally is. You know, Jaws apparently is the movie that you burn the most calories watching.
ooh, I haven't seen Jaws in a while. That one
It's
might.
like almost 200 calories or something
Oh,
stupid.
there you go. We're all
I think
gonna
it's like
lose some weight while we
160
watch
calories.
Jaws.
Like just watching a movie. It's
All
that
right. Well,
scary. Yeah.
I this is anticlimactic, but here, let's swing on over and show our five. Oh no, Nat disappeared. Oh no, hang
That's
on,
okay. I'm
hang
still
on,
around.
hang on. Nat's
I'm in
here.
audio.
Hang on, Nat's here.
Hello,
There she
hello,
is, back.
hello.
We've been pushing all the buttons, which sometimes works out and sometimes not so much. But yeah, five. This is a five. I mean, this won five
Yeah.
Oscars. One potato for every Oscar.
Actually, I looked it up. It won 7 Oscars.
Oh, so it won the big five. All right. What were the other
Yeah.
two
So
movies? Hang on. We got to find the other two
Best
movies.
Actor, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best
Oh.
Sound Mixing.
Oh, so film editing
Let's
and
not
sound
forget,
mixing don't get added into the
sound mixing
five.
and film editing are like as important as the other categories.
Oh.
Because honestly, I've seen some movies where I was like, what happened with that editor? What was he on when he did this? Because the movie was good up until this point. So congrats, Silence of the
Well,
Lambs, and everybody involved.
the other two, just if you're keeping up with this epic fact. So again, it won the big five. Okay, so it took seven, but of the seven, there were five that were the big ones. And the only other
Considered the
two
big
movies
ones.
in all of history that have won the five big Oscars were It Happened One Night, which is from 1935, and One Flew
Very
Over the
good movie.
Cuckoo's Nest in
Also very good
1976.
movie.
Um,
Also about crazy people.
yeah, people love a crazy person movie, apparently.
I still say Nurse Ratched because when you go to the hospital, if you ever have somebody
Yeah,
who's
that
in the
stuff
hospital,
scares
if
me.
you're
I
dealing with
can.
any hospital situation, you always have a Nurse Ratched. And I feel bad because especially nowadays with the pandemic and everything, like the Nurse Ratchets are like they earned it, to be fair. They earned being really mean because
Yeah, yeah.
like the at least our medical system here is complete non-existent garbage at the moment. Not and it's nobody's fault. It's none of the professionals. They're the heroes. They're still hanging on by tooth and nail. But
Oh,
I
mm,
appreciate
we
all of
appreciate
our
you.
genuine first responders.
Absolutely. Well, hang on one sec, Nat, because we've got to give Josh homework for you. You need to find Ernest Scared Stupid and watch it. I think, if I remember correctly,
It's on
'cause
Disney.
I think it's on
on Disney
Disney.
Plus.
I think it's on Disney Plus as well. So Ernest Scared Stupid is the Halloween one. If not, we'll find it on VHS and we'll send it to you, obviously, because we care. And but I think it's in 2 weeks, our episode, because I'm pretty sure we have one more Halloween one in between. I can't remember what we decided.
What
Oh,
are we
it's
doing next week?
it might be Ernest Scared Stupid Net. We can rotate them because the other one we're
Are we
gonna do
doing little-
is Little Shop of Horrors, which is
I was
also like a
Little Shop of
funny.
Horrors, Little Shop of Horrors.
It's like a funny musical horror. So we're stretching the limits.
It's
So
Rick Moranis and Steve Martin. And it's so good. It's so good.
Let's swap them so that we can give time for Josh to watch Ernest Scared Stupid, and then we can go out on like a silly, scary ending. Although, I mean, both of those movies are silly, scary. Oh, hang on. We got to start over. Val just got here. All right. Tonight we're going to talk about Silence of the Lambs.
Ernest
That-
Scared Stupid isn't on Disney Plus in Canada.
Oh,
Just Christmas.
No. All right, Josh, we're going to
That's
find
so
it for you.
dumb.
We're going to find it.
That's so dumb.
We are going to
Hit the
find it.
flea markets.
Yeah. Team effort. We will help find it on VHS or DVD for you. Where there's a will, there's a way. I believe it. Oh
Yeah.
no. All right. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We believe in you, Josh. Otherwise, we'll recap it and then we'll find it. And send it
Just
to you.
Google it.
Oh, and Julie was a runette
find you
in
something.
Little Shop of Horrors. All right, everyone's ready then for our last 2 Halloween episodes.
So cool.
Little Shop of Horrors and Ernest Scared Stupid in an order that I can't remember, but definitely those 2. And then we'll jump into, I don't know, are there good like Thanksgiving movies? We'll have to we need a different theme. You had some good theme ideas, Nat.
I feel like there must be American Thanksgiving movies. Canadian Thanksgiving has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was under wonderful full supermoon,
It was
the
beautiful.
Hunter Moon.
I celebrated.
And I was at my cottage and it briefly snowed. I was wearing like a t-shirt and shorts,
Yeah.
with hiking boots and wool socks because I was, doing yard work and stuff. But it started snowing. I'm like, this is magical. I'm like, it's snowing and I'm like literally in shorts and a t-shirt. It was wonderful. But now it's warm again. So
No, it's warm again.
thanks, climate change.
Thanks, climate change. Oh, yeah. Okay. Kathy reminded me. We have to do Better Off Dead. All right. November will be John
Yes.
Cusack. We're going to dive into
John Cusack month, period.
John Cusack month, November. It feels we're thankful for John Cusack movies from the 80s
We'll do
and
a little
90s.
John Cusack 101.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah,
You
I
saved
mean-
the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Planes,
John
Trains, and
Cusack
Automobiles. You guys are
101.
killing me. Yeah. All right. No, hang on, Doc. Hang on. We gotta do.
Okay, now Doc is throwing in Canadians into mix. Come on, John Candy.
Oh, but that
love
is a
them so
Thanksgiving movie. So Doc
Oh, it
understood
is?
the
Is
assignment.
it?
Yeah.
Canadians and American Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
we
and
do love it.
Joe also understood the assignment. All right. Well, maybe
Yeah.
we will include Planes, Trains, and
Okay, we'll
Automobiles
do that
and
for-
John Cusack movies.
Yeah,
We're gonna be good.
yeah.
It's gonna be good. And we did have we should tease that we are gonna do a sports movie episode, which is like outside of our
Yes.
realm of expertise. So we're bringing on our friends from If
Is
These
it?
Balls Could Talk, so that they could help sports things up for me.
Yeah.
Nat's good at sports ball and all those things, but I'm not. I don't do any of that. So.
Okay, did you just say I'm good with balls?
You're good at sports
Thanks.
ball. You're good at balls and other things. It's fine. It's totally fine.
This is my dating profile.
Mm-hmm.
Likes movie good with balls.
Oh, we got to do okay, so we've got lots of plans. Kathy, we need to talk. We have plans. If you're listening to this episode and you're like, "What the heck?"
What's happening?
You're missing out because we record this most Thursday nights when things don't go horrifically wrong for us on YouTube, and you can always jump in and join the live chat or leave us a comment on the videos during the replay, and we are always happy to follow up, and we take lots of feedback and advice, and we love being on other people's shows, and we do lots of collaborations, so we're always exciting. We're always excited to hang out with you. Rudy, I was distracted by Doc saying Rudy, which is one
Oh,
of
we
those
do love
movies-
Rudy.
Yeah, which is
That was one of our
movies.
choices for our sports movies. So our
Yeah.
friends on If These Balls Could Talk, that was one of our picks, possibly
Mhm.
for the sports
But
movies.
spoilers,
I do
we can't
love,
tell you.
Yeah, we do. I do love the movie Rudy, and I love Sean Astin.
Mhm.
Which reminds me, for Christmas is my annual Lord of the Rings extended
Oh,
edition
yeah.
rewatch.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
thank you, Peter Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Slapshot. Some good options coming through. As usual,
Yes.
more movies than we could possibly get through. We will figure it out.
Slapshot. There's also a Quebecois film that's sort of like the French version of Slapshot called Les Gars,
Ah, my God.
which is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm like, maybe we'll have to make you guys watch a foreign film.
Oh, yeah. Step it up. We'll do a whole episode in French. I
No,
mean,
we'll
Nat
have to
will.
do
I'll
like a
just
Bon Cop,
bumble
Bad
through.
Cop,
I do love Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
because that's fully bilingual film.
It's true. It might be outside of our
Yeah.
date. Maybe we do like a special
Oh,
episode
it is.
from the future. Instead of being in the
We'll
past, we
fax.
can be in the present.
We'll fax ourselves.
Yeah, we'll fax
Fax
ourselves.
from future
We'll yeah.
from future Natalie and Katie.
Future Natalie and Katie will send a fax so we do a modern episode. Well, we did it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this Silence of the Lambs super special episode. Thank you for being so patient as we fixed internet issues, broken heaters, camera problems, eCam weirdness, broken cars. It was like literally everything was bad
Non-functioning microphones.
for a little bit. Non-functioning microphones, but we've solved all the issues.
Wasn't even a broken heater. It's just that they're replacing all the natural gas lines in the neighborhood and
Quebec
forgot
just
to turn mine back
yeah,
on.
Quebec just turned itself off, but Nat's okay now. Everything is fine. So we should be back most Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we have a brand new-ish newsletter. So if you swing over to our website, thevhsclubpod.com, you can sign up so that you know what's going on and when. And we promise we will do extra fun stuff with that newsletter as well. Maybe some giveaways, maybe some behind the scenes, maybe Nat's, stream of consciousness notes from when she's watching movies. The
Yes,
sky's
I
the
need to do
limit.
that.
The sky's the
Yeah.
limit.
And definitely looking forward to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I'm not. So Katie and I, when her parents moved down to the US, we'd always go down for American Thanksgiving, and it was even before we needed passports to date ourselves. Canadians and Americans didn't used to need passports because we're
Interesting.
BFFs.
Yeah.
And we used to just be able to cross the border whenever because, we love each other and we're BFFs. And American Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays because it's ridiculously
It is ridiculous.
over the top.
Yeah.
It's over the top. It's bigger than Christmas, and I can't get over it, and I love it.
And it's like
so
just
much.
Eating and shopping, which is like amazing.
Yeah.
All holidays should be
Oh,
that
Katie
awesome.
and I have some fun Black Friday sale stories when we'd get up at like 2:30 a.m. to get ready to go stand in line.
Mostly buying movies, really.
Yeah, really. Just
If we're being honest, it really does tie into the show. Well, I'm glad we are back, but also we're going to call it a night. But thanks so much for hanging out with us. Kathy and Val, since you showed up late, we expect you just to hit back to the beginning and watch this entire episode through tonight, obviously. And we'll catch you next week.
love that you guys showed up.
Love that
even
you showed
late.
up.
Thank you so much.
Yes, even late. And thank you to Josh and Joe and Julie and Doc and everyone that was here hanging out with us. Matt, we really appreciate each and every one of you and all of you who are listening and watching later. Thanks. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Katie and Nat.